Recessed windows. This is a tricky architectural detail that's really prone to leakage. On today's episode, we're gonna pull these windows and I'm gonna show you how to flash them correctly. I'm coming to you from another builder's job site, and we've got some recessed windows here installed with a couple of issues that I'm seeing. So on today's episode, I want to show you how to actually flash a recessed window correctly. Before we get into that, let's look at this particular install. If you look above us here, we've got no overhang. This is a flat roof above, fairly modern construction. We're going to have stucco that's going to recess back to this window. And so with no overhang above, this window is going to absolutely get drenched every time it rains. And remember, no matter what you're cladding, whether it's stucco or siding, there's always going to be some amount of water, bulk water, that's going to get past that cladding. We've got a recessed window. We basically have a window within a window. We've got a windowsill here, and then we've got the windowsill that the window is actually sitting in. And these need to be all done 100% perfect because we're going to have water actually sitting in these locations. So if you look at this particular install, we've got a couple of breaks in the zip tape. We've also got some paper flashing, which I'm not a big fan of. And if we peel that back, you can see we've got a couple breaks in a few areas that really are concerning to me. I brought my crew with me today. We're gonna do a Builder 911, pull this apart, show you where some of the problems are, and show you how to do it correctly with a fluid applied product made by the same manufacturer. Okay, Bill, so start with a subsill. What do we do here and what do we find?
Well, because we found this was didn't have a slope in it, what we did is we came back and we cut a little angle, 3 to 5 degrees on our cripple studs here, and then we threw some shims underneath here just to give us a little outward slope.
Yeah. Couple degrees, 5 degrees or so, positive slope to the outside.
Absolutely.
And the recess was formed here by doing a 2x6 framing on this outside wall, and then they underframed it by 3 inches so they could put a 2x4 on the inside. And of course, we had that moist stop before. You know, we've used a lot of flexible flashings to do these recesses in the past, but what's the problem with the flexible flashings that you find, Bill?
With these recessed windows, you have to imagine all of these corners that we have to deal with. So when we're stretching that flexible flashing, it really works best if you're bringing it out to here. But what we're asking it to do is really more than what the adhesive will allow it to do.
And it's basically flashing origami at that point too, right?
Absolutely.
And those inside corners are really hard to get everything lapped correctly and stretched into the corners. It's really hard. It's not a great method, especially when you've got a very tight recess like this builder is doing here on this house.
That's true. Another thing that you have to be aware of too when you're flashing your windows is, yes, we want to do it right. We want belt and suspenders, but we have to be careful about the buildup that we create.
Yeah, that's right. And the thickness of all those materials as well.
Absolutely.
And of course, the lapping is the other big issue too, is just making sure even the lowest man on the totem pole who's installing flashing understands how to shingle everything. Okay, Bill, we're gonna be using a fluid applied on this. We're happen to be using Huber's Liquid Flash. There's a bunch of different manufacturers of these, and we've used several different brands successfully. But a liquid applied is really the best practice for this recess window because now we've eliminated the origami. So show us how this works, Bill.
That's right, Max. Basically, I like to start in the corner, make sure that we get in there real nice, and we're gonna tool all this out, so.
Now Zip's product is an all-in-one. They only make one flavor or one viscosity. When you look at some other brands, they make 2 or 3 viscosities. Sometimes they call it brush grade or gun grade, but we always want to start in the corners. We want to cover any gaps. You can see we've got a little gap in the sheathing here. This liquid flash can go up to around 3/8 of an inch and fill that no problem. So then once we get the corners, then we're going to do the body. And we're gonna lay a couple of beads here on the body of the sill and on the recess around the entire opening. The idea is that this fluid applied is gonna go all the way around this opening to about 4 inches on either side. We're gonna do all the way on the jamb, all the way to the inside on both the jamb and the sill. And now we've got positive drainage. It takes about an hour for this stuff to set up before we're ready to set the window. So it doesn't take too long. But once we get all this in and tooled, we've got now a barrier that's totally continuous. There's no breaks, there's no seams, there's no issues with shingling or what layer goes on first. Really, really nice product. And of course, there's several brands you can use, but I think it's always best to stay with the manufacturer for your particular product that you're using. And so in this case, we're using Huber's. However, we could have used DuPont's fluid applied here. We could use Polyguard's. There's several flavors out there that would work with this particular scenario. But once this is all done, now if that window leaks, and remember there's always a certain percentage of windows that leak no matter what brand, it's gonna leak onto the sill, and then it's gonna leak into the subsill, and then onto the sheathing, and then out harmlessly. So we're not gonna have any of this wood exposed. This is really best practice.
I agree. And I will say too that it's important to slope your subsill as well and get your product into all your little crevices.
Yep. So Bill, let's get this finished on the fluid applied, and then we'll come back and show you how to install the window.
Sounds good.
All right, Bill, window's installed. Walk me through from the time we started on the fluid applied, the steps that we took to get here.
Matt, it's basic window installation from that point. We take our caulking, we'll do the legs, both legs in the top. Now, remember, we don't want to do the bottom of the flange. And what we've done, remember, we've tilted the sill, pointing out. If any water were to get back here behind this window or inside in the frame, it's got an opportunity to get out. So then we set our window in, we plumb it, we level it, make sure it's square, and then we'll start to nail it off. We like to use roofing nails because they've got a big fat head and they're galvanized. We'll nail it off, check it for operation, make sure everything functions properly, and then normally what we would do is we would take our tape and go around the window flange and make a seal to our already wrapped window. But because this was fluid applied, what we're gonna do is take more of this product and put it on the top of the window flange, and it actually kind of molded right into the old already dried.
That's right, so the fluid applied, Bill, as we put it on the flange, is sticking to the already cured fluid applied, and now there's no seams, no gaps. This is a totally tight install. We're not worried about anything not sticking. It's absolutely perfectly adhered on here. This is an impressive install and an impressive product. More info on installing windows, best practices, anything to do with windows. Bill and I've got a bunch of videos we've made together on really how to do it right and ensure that your windows are not gonna leak. 9 times out of 10, if a window leaks, it's not the window itself, it's the install. So doing it right is critical. Thanks for joining, everybody. We'll see you next time on The Build Show.